Critical Role's Exandria Unlimited Calamity, Episode 3. We're breaking the whole thing down. This might be the most magical episode of any Critical Role thing ever. We got illusion type stuff going on. We got some creative use of low-level spells once again by Brennan, and we have some of the biggest counterspell war back and forth that I've ever seen before. And if you know my thoughts on counterspell, there's going to be some hot takes in here as well, but we're going to dive right in. But if you guys like these breakdowns, then hit that like button, because I'm making 2 videos a week now on the channel. I want to use these likes to see what type of videos I should make. Should I move away from the DC breakdowns and make some more different homebrew video stuff like my normal videos, or keep diving in with these? Because I love this stuff and I hope you do too. So let's get into the first clip with some perception checks based on illusion magic. So as always, I'm going to set up the clip so you understand what's going on, just in case you didn't watch this thing, because you don't have to beforehand. I got you covered. They are about to have a huge combat, but it hasn't happened yet. They're just in the streets with Lucretia Hollow across the street from them, and they're just talking to this villain NPC, and things are about to go down, but they haven't yet, so they're in this little interesting spot here. And Travis's character, the bird rogue character, has extremely amazing perception, and he gets a little perception check, but he gives opportunity for the rest of the table too as well, because there's another NPC that just arrived and doing some suspicious things, maybe illusion things. You'll see.
Give me a perception check again. Actually, and anyone can do this, but
yeah, dude. Let's go. Natural 18 for a 31.
Jesus. Cool. Brennan asked for this too, for the record.
Yeah. Sarah, your training, it's all about spotting illusions, shapeshifters, all sorts of magic before it can become a problem. Milas is a thin and reedy man,
Really sets
very
it up.
slight. The front door of the helm is a broad door, about 8.5 feet up and about, 3, maybe like 4 or more feet wide. Hefty door. As Milas, this thin and reedy man, steps through it, he goes,
"Ooh." So he has back problems.
So I love this in so many levels. One, respect to the massive perception that Travis's character got, and he gives him some information, but he doesn't give it to him on a silver platter. He actually describes something and hints at something that will be revealed either way. He is going to reveal that this NPC is actually a demon. Like, oh my gosh, right? Okay, so that's what's about to happen. This little NPC is actually a big, huge demon character, right? Or devil, or whatever, sorry. But he alludes to it. He sets up this large door, small person, but he ducks through the doorway. Interesting. So his perception tech didn't tell him. It's weird, you notice, so that means he has an illusion. Hey, he has an illusion, and that's why he had to duck. He didn't heavy hand it. He was real subtle with it and gave it some. I even thought, I was like, why would he have to duck? And and then it just hits harder when you realize it and it's not told to you. Let the players figure it out. So the high perception roll gave an innuendo, subtle hint towards the illusion magic going on. Love it. The magic of this next clip has to do with magic items and a player forgetting, how dare those players forget that they have a magic item. Again, this is a small campaign, one shot. They had this item beforehand, but Travis's character has a magic item that gives him psychic resistance, and he takes a lot of psychic damage. He's doing some stuff with his character sheet. He's making some moves. He's being a good player, but he forgot that he had a magic item that reduces psychic damage, and Brennan gives him throws him a bone. Here it is.
However, I will also point out, am I incorrect? Do you have armor of psychic damage resistance?
Oh, I do. I got a fucking cloak.
Wow. So that's going to be
armor of psychic resistance. I have resistance to psychic damage. I need to remember that shit. Thank you, Brennan.
You got it.
You got it. I need to remember that. Yeah. So this is a very beautiful, even non-adversarial DMing. It's a friend. Brennan is being a friend to Travis. Hey, here you go. Maybe the next time he takes psychic damage. Now, I don't know. I'm not getting into Brennan's. I'm not speaking for Brennan on this one, but if he took psychic damage again and he forgot again after you already extended the olive bread, then I would, nope, it's too late. You forgot, all that kind of stuff. Move on. You got to figure out how hardcore you want to put the stake in on this thing. But the players are going to love you as a dungeon master if you help them, give them little reminders, especially since it hasn't came up before. So in general, how I run this personally is I would recommend, hey, you do have that psychic. Oh yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And then I would love props to the player, Travis, for, I need to remember that. And then holding themselves accountable and be like, yep, no, I got you though. Next time it happens, though, I wouldn't remind them. You know what I'm saying? And they have to learn from that. And it's going to be a healthy balance of, oh, yay, I reminded you. And, oh, you forgot. So you got to deal with it this time. And then eventually they'll remember. But I just love highlighting these type of moments. That's why we do these breakdowns. Next clip. Now this one just has so many layers of awesomeness to it. Is Travis's character, I just realized now, is kind of the main focus of this whole thing. But hey, let's go. Travis's character is being targeted by two mages at the same time, and they're casting some sort of spell towards him in some way. And he says make his wisdom saving throw at disadvantage. Now, that's a kind of a big red for me. That's a big red flag of like, wait. What's granting him disadvantage? A lot of times us dungeon masters don't have to say that, right? And leave it as a mystery for now. But Brennan's going to break this thing down real smooth for us and tell us exactly why it was a disadvantage and what's going on with this spell and why this spell is so scary, even though it's just a little second level spell. Here we go.
You see one of these mages do something that seems truly strange to you. One of this powerful mage right here on the rampart, all he is doing is funneling ether to his friend to give you disadvantage on the spell that comes mechanic. Next. The one Love right in front of you looks up. These guys don't look as bad as that puppet did before, but you see their eyes are sunken and sleepless. These guys have been tampering with some bad magic. He looks at you, reaches forward as he comes out of invisibility, grabs your face, puts his forehead to your forehead, and goes, "The tools of Vespin Chloris!" And you feel a detect thoughts shoot into your head. And you immediately put his forehead to your forehead and goes, "The tools of Vespin Chloris!" And you feel a detect thoughts shoot into your head. And you immediately, unbidden, think of Orwin, the chamber, the report, what you told him to do with it. Detect thoughts, second level spell.
But what a creative use of that only second level spell, detect thoughts. When there's big things going on in the campaign and the players have information, detect thoughts used in this way becomes very deadly because it's not just a thought, it is extracting information forcefully. You can even reflavor this as upcasting detect thoughts to pry deeper and get even more secret knowledge because you as a dungeon master know what they know, and you know your villains of some kind want to know what they know, and how deep can they dig? The biggest thing here is this is an alternate win condition in some way where they are getting information. It's not all about my health pool versus your health pool. Who can kill the other one first? It's not all about that. It's information. Can I get it? Can they get it? Now they have it. What should we do? We got to stop him. What if he now can send a telepathic message on the next turn to send out that information? Oh, what if he can send a telepathic message on the next turn saying something ominous like, I must tell the others, and goes like this, and in his next turn, and that adds extra layers of tension, all intermixed amount, this big, huge combat that's going on. Absolutely love detect thoughts in this way. Let's get into the Counterspell War now. So now we enter into the Counterspell War, and oh my gosh, is this crazy. There's about like 5 or 6 counterspells, actually more, like at least 8 counterspells going off. Comment if you know exactly how many counterspells went off. I lost count. This is crazy. I'm picking the 2 biggest moments here. This is the first moment where the Counterspell War began. Lucretia Hollow, this big villain character, is casting a very high level necromancy spell at Marisha's character, and we're going to see Abria try and stop it. Here we go.
He's firing off a powerful necromantic spell.
No, she's not. Counterspell.
Abria's countering the spell.
Give me the level.
Targeting her.
Level 3. I'll roll for it.
Okay.
Counterspell's add duration. I get to add my proficiency back on top of the ability check when I roll for this.
Copy that.
This is my city.
Now she's going for your counterspell. And give me the level you're casting it at again one more time.
3.
Third level counterspell. So she's coming for you. DC is 13. It's a third level spell, and she is adding +4. So on a 9 or higher, your counterspell gets counterspelled by her.
Okay.
Now, time out real quick. This is just to lay it out here. Lucretia, villain person. Villain is casting a bad spell at a player. another player is counterspelling it, and she's going to counterspell it back. So we have 2 counterspells up for grabs right now. The original counterspell to stop the big bad spell, and then her counterspell to stop the counterspell. And a lot of this and all the hype, some of this gets lost in translation, and there's a roll that gets missed out on here. Abria is rolling at a third, that this is the 7th level Finger of Death is what the spell is being cast is at. So Abria is trying to stop this with a 3rd level counterspell to counter a 7th level Finger of Death, which she for sure needs to roll for. But before we can get to Abria's, we got to handle Lucretia's, the villain counterspell, to see if her counterspell goes off, which is also why we're in a timeout here, because a 3rd level counterspell should automatically counter a 3rd level counterspell, and there shouldn't even be a roll for it. They just counterspell it. But Brennan, in a cool, I totally agree. I have a whole video ranting about counterspell, and I could go on and on about counterspell, but I definitely always feel like there should never be just an automatic, it just wins. There should always be a roll for it, and you add the modifier of the spell. So if you have a 3rd level spell versus a 4th, they add +3, they add +4 to symbolize the power of their spell energies putting into it, sure. But Brennan makes a judgment call in this moment to go ahead and roll off for this moment when you normally would not. And I completely love this thing. It's what I would do, but we'll get to something here in a second.
You want a 9 or higher, or you don't want a 9?
I want an 8 or low.
Okay.
Love the clarification. Also, look at this clarification. I'm sorry for pausing again, but this is important. Brennan is rolling in front of the table. He does this all the time. This is a signature move. I definitely do this myself. I love it. It's amazing. And look at the reaction of the rest of the table when he makes this roll in front of the group, and they know 8 or lower is good. Here we go.
Die roll low, please.
Can you counterspell?
Standing up. They're standing up.
Oh, yeah.
Hits the table. Boom. Look at him. Look at him. Abria gets up. Love it. Love it. Energy.
That's the juice! Put that in the damn engine!
Like Krisha Hollow throws a 7th level Finger of Death your way.
Holy shit.
Necromancers.
That was cool.
Which would have, that would have been quite bad. Laren, what does it look like when instead of that spell happening, something else happens?
Time out, though. What happened to Abria's roll? Right now, this is not me by no means. This is me being a rules lawyer. Technically, Brennan should have cast for the roll. This is ridiculous. No. That's not where I'm coming from here. This is actually another comment from last week's video was that I never say anything bad about Brennan because honestly, he is the most synced up to me as a Dungeon Master. I've learned the most from him. He's my favorite Dungeon Master, so I'm probably biased in that way. But in this case, yes, he missed a roll here. Now, let's break this down though. There was a counterspell that Abria was doing onto the villain. That should have been rolled for. She was doing a 3rd level spell versus a 7th level spell. That is the big contest right here. That's a big deal. I want to see that roll because that's a big thing. If she can overcome that, wow. But there was the other counterspell of a counterspell. That was the roll that just went down. That was the huge amount of energy at the table. 3rd level versus 3rd level. Brennan chose to roll for it because of the hype, and you saw the hype. Great, amazing choice. I always roll for counterspells. This video clip is a perfect example of why I always roll for counterspells because that's so epic, and I do it in stages and order like that. See, you got to hit this roll. Oh my God, they did. Roll in front of the table, all that stuff. Great. But that big energy moment was only to account for the counterspell of the counterspell. Now we got to see if Abria can shut down the main spell. But Brennan got wrapped up in the moment, the high energy, and who could blame him? Because my God, look at the table. Like people were standing up, they were cheering. Oh my guy, Lou is. I love Lou so much. Everyone was so excited. So he moved on with it, and that the spell was countered. Now, did he remember that? I feel like he forgot in the moment, but got caught up in all the great moment, and they keep going, and this thing's great, everything's awesome, and they had a great time doing it. So did he miss a roll? Yes, but man, oh man, are the players on a high and all that kind of stuff, and you look back on like, I wonder what that roll would have been, but is what happened. You're not going to go back and retcon it. That's ridiculous. It's a missed roll, as players miss many rolls, Dungeon Masters miss many rolls. This was one of the ones missed, and it's okay. But I'm not gonna lie, when I watched it, I was hyped up. I was ready for this. Oh, okay, wow. So the counterspell didn't happen. But now, what's Abria gonna roll? And I thought we were gonna get another moment on top of a moment of Abria beating the counterspell of the roll. And we hit roll, do it again, like, oh my gosh. And then if she gets it through then, wow, you know what I'm saying? I was winning that moment, but we forgot about it as we moved through and just went on, and probably off the high of our emotions went on to the next part. And I'm also surprised that Abria didn't realize that either, because she's a freaking badass with the rules too and knowing all this kind of stuff. But again, that's a testament to the energy at the table. Everyone was so wrapped up in the moment. Describe to me what that finger of death looks like. She catches that out of the air. Awesome moment. And let me say this real quick too, because Brennan could have just won in that moment. If he had chose to play it rules as written and just counterspell the counterspell and it'd be done, he would have counterspelled Abria's counterspell and the spell would have gone off. And there would have been no hype moment at all. So that's the give and take of this whole thing. So did Brennan chose to roll for something he didn't need to roll for, have a huge hype moment, and we might as well have that moment count for the other one, sure. And it kind of balances out because he could have just won. So it's okay. And I'm saying that just because there's going to be moments of give and take at the table where Dungeon Master makes a call for the players, or maybe a call against the players, or the dice go for or against. Anyway, let's keep this Counterspell War going. This next clip here might just be the highlight of this whole thing for me. We had gone a while without a combat. We went 2 episodes without a true combat. So it was all coming into this, and man, oh man, was this combat amazing. And now we have some more Counterspell Wars to get into. So to set the stage, the villain is appearing and is going to cast this big nasty spell onto Marisha's character. Marisha's character has been holding a spell with her action to be able to release Odalic's Resilient Sphere onto Lucretia to contain her inside of it, right? That's what she's about to do. So as soon as this whole thing goes down, Lucretia versus Marisha's character, villain versus hero, this goes out and she's going to cast Odalic's Sphere, but the villain's going to try and counterspell it. And she's going to try and counterspell this Resilient Sphere. So we're back to this counterspell moment. And now this Lewis's character, this paladin up on this flying griffin, wants to try and counterspell this counterspell. Just watch how many amazing moments go into it. Here we go.
Your modifier to Christmas +5. You need to roll an 11 or higher in the D20. It's a total coin flip.
Setting the stage, baby.
Total coin flip, and it's going to be
Brennan's a master at this.
bad.
Hit an 11.
Got this? You got this?
I don't know.
There you go.
I don't need the stress in my life.
15!
Got it. So he counterspelled the paladin with his divine. And first of all, the way he describes his character's counterspells and anything like that is amazing. This like illusory image of his character like blocks it and then disappears. Like, oh, it's so cool. I just got chills even talking about it right now. So the counterspells the counterspell. Okay, cool. So now we're back to Odalic's Resilient Sphere coming over her, and she's about to cast a spell on her, and there's this whole big battle's about to happen. And Brennan throws down some crazy homebrew mumbo jumbo on the fly. I'm feeling like this is exact, like I do this all the time with spells. And to see Brennan do it, oh yes, I love spell contests. I just did a whole spell duel system in Alcander's Almanac that I've written up about spells and how to take them to the next level. And to see Brennan do that spell duel thing inside, oh yes, it was awesome. So to not play the full 6-minute clip, here's the moment that Marisha gets to roleplay this thing happen.
Paisha, like as she tries to dispel it, Paisha quickly reactionary yanks back her arms and almost catches the force bubble and pushes it back.
Paisha, you encircle her in this sphere. I'm gonna ask actually for some homebrew stuff here.
Okay.
As you're capturing her in this sphere, this is so cool.
It's not Odalic's Resilient Sphere, it's...
So now Brennan takes a second behind the screens just to really make sure this goes off. He rolls 2 D20s. They both roll low. He explains what it is. And there's 2 other mages trying to counterspell what Marisha's trying to do. This Odalic's Resilient Sphere, she's pulling it back around on top. Oh, I just got chills again. So epic. Brennan plays it all out again to make sure that he does everything he can not to just let the players win. He's really playing it up to try and make them have to work at this thing. So he tries to get the counterspell off. Both of the counterspells fail, and it's now comes down to this. And he wants to go for some homebrew stuff here. And this is a spell duel. One caster's spell check versus another caster's spell check. So now let's get inside Brennan's head and see what happens with this homebrew twist of what truly spell casting in Dungeons and Dragons could be. Then we'll break it down. Here we go.
I'm gonna ask you. There's the spell that Lucretia was casting is, I think, in my mind, works so insane with that you've perfectly chosen the spell to counter it. So I want an opposed Arcana roll here to see how well you can oppose her with this spell.
Force powers.
She is adding a +7 to this roll for her Arcana.
Pulling back
I'm
that
gonna
screen.
roll in front of the board and see what she gets.
And rolling in front of the screen.
It's a 17. So you need to be, if you can beat a 17 Arcana, something is going to happen.
Okay, my Arcana is a +10, and I have an advantage thanks to Silvery Barbs.
Setting the stage.
It was all meant to be.
So I need, realistically, an 8+ on one of these.
There's the bar.
A natural 19! Yes!
The spell.
Was it like a disintegrate or something?
No. It's, this is why Resilient Sphere is such a perfect choice. The spell that was coming your way, and Nidus's way, and Xerxes' way, was Circle of Death.
Oh,
A 60-foot radius sphere of necromantic energy, 8d6 necrotic damage to everybody within that. She was about to, even her own, it would have killed both of her mages. It would have killed all of her followers here. Now, in my mind, something that deals 8d6 necrotic damage, if it goes out for 60 feet, how much damage would it deal? So she goes.
Black cloud
Look at their
enwrapped
faces.
in the bubble.
So she
They're putting
goes.
it together.
I've always hated you. And you, scintillating blue energy.
Watch how he describes this.
Of brimstone. Withering her own skin. The spell escapes and recurses and recurses and recurses. And she drops to the floor.
Oh my God, yes. When these moments happen, Dungeon Masters, please do a next level description. Don't be afraid to scream. Don't be afraid to go for it with these things about describing what happens when this absolutely epic moment happens. A force bubble containing an explosion of necrotic energy that she gets trapped inside of. Absolutely brilliant. She countered the spell, and after all of these counter spells, the actual spell counterspell, after all these counter spells going off, the true and best version of the counter to a spell was another true spell, Odalic's Resilient Sphere, encapsulating and engulfing a circle of death, the perfect counter to a spell. This was absolutely next level, and this is the version of spell duels that I hinted at and talked about in that counterspell video that I did talk about. So to see Brennan do this was just like, yes, please. I love it. I love it. And right now, I'll show a little sneak peek from Alcanar's Almanac of some art done by Victronicon of an actual spell duel happening just like this, but brought to life in a picture of two mages casting spells at each other. Not counterspell, because that can be a little lame. Oh, counterspell, oh, bloop. And there's some great descriptions, especially by Lewis's character, of how that counterspell was done. But two actual spells going against each other and countering each other in a true one-on-one spell duel. Whose spell will win? So if you guys want to see a full video on the spell duel system from Alcanar's Almanac, first of all, you can check out Alcanar's Almanac. Link for that's always going to be in the description. But if you guys want a full video on that, let me know in the comments. And like I said, whenever you guys like these type of videos, I want to do more of these. And I listen to the comments to see what you guys specifically say. And if you do want to do a whole spell duel video, I'll break that down and show how certain spells can counter other spells, like was beautifully demonstrated here with a Circle of Death being counterspelled by a Odalic's Resilient Sphere contained in there. So I hope you love the breakdown. I hope these type of moments and talking about these type of moments get you to open up that Dungeon Master mind of yours, open up the possibilities of this game, and keep thinking outside the box. Peace.